Hey there viewers, what is up, and thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we are going to be making a smooth trap beat with a little R&B flavor. Welcome to the Flipside. Alright, so in this episode we are going to make a trap beat. Not just any trap beat, but a smooth trap beat. A smooth trap beat that you could use as a single, spit some bars on, but that has enough space to lay a good as melodic hook on, And I had a lot of fun making this beat because it was pretty basic, but it conveyed a lot of emotion and whatever. I just had a lot of fun making this beat, and I hope that you are going to have a lot of fun watching me remake this beat for y'all. Let's get right into it. Okay, so before we really get into it, I just want to say one thing. I cannot stress enough how important it is to organize your shit. Like seriously, especially if you're working in a project with a lot of VSTs open, a lot of sounds, samples, in your playlist and whatever, I haven't arranged my playlist yet, but at least I've got my browser arranged. I've got my mixer arranged, Organizing your stuff is very important for your workflow as a producer, so keep that one in mind. All right, so without further ado, let's talk chords. Now, for this beat, I used minor 7 chords and minor 6 chords. And what I really liked about these chords is that they were so lush, like so rich in terms of sound. Like a good 7 chord, 6 chord, minor 9th chord, 11th chord, when placed correctly, when phrased correctly with the right tone and perhaps a possible inversion, it can have people like, regular people just minding their day. When they hear that chord, they go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. That kind of stuff. Right, so the chords. Right, so the chords I played were a D sharp minor 7th, a C sharp minor 6th, an inverted D sharp minor 7th, and an F sharp minor 6th. So essentially the chords sound like this. That's our chord progression. So I put that into the playlist, and at first it sounded kind of boring. So what I did to make sure it sounded more interesting is stack a note on top of it to give it a different sound, to offset it, to give it a bit more tension, to make it a bit more rich, to make sure that that progression actually tells a story, that takes you on a journey. So what I did essentially is add some notes, and I'm gonna do that just right now. Oh, and I also inverted the F sharp minor 6. I inverted it, but let me just show you. So that should give me this. Boom. And as for the first part, I started adding notes in the bass. Sorry, for the second part, I started adding notes in the bass. Boom, that nails it for our chord progression. All right, so from that chord progression, let's immediately head into drums. Let me just quickly play you my drum selection. Basic as always, but it always does the trick. So basically a hi-hat from a KC Supreme kit, a Metro Boomin kick, and a clap and a perk from a Pyrex kit. Yo, shout outs to all the producers providing all those kits, making my workflow more efficient. Thank y'all. All right, so let's start laying down a kick pattern, followed up by a clap pattern, like that's any difficult, a hi-hat pattern. Oh, and let's add some 808s as well. And I didn't introduce you, but this is basically the 808 that I use for everything. What a lot of trap producers use, you know, is the spins 808. Like any type beat producer, trap producer knows about the spins 808. So it's basically a mainstay in my workflow. Okay, let's cut the shit. Let's lay it out some drums. So, you know, basically an easy trick when you're making these intricate hi-hat patterns is what I do. I select it in piano roll, you know, Control A. I stretch them out, or you could just use Control L for the legato, you know, that immediately extends them. Make sure to cut away the ones that are on the same beat as the clap or the snare. You know, pet peeve of mine, like I told y'all before. And I don't think I'm gonna have the hi-hat pattern differentiating in the second part, so I think I'm just gonna copy paste it like that, leave it as it is. So what I got now is essentially this. And let's start adding some rolls to it. Okay, so that gives us our 808 patterns. And I think I want to supplement it with a couple of 808 slides. So the slides notes are basically when you have like a tone and, you know, in the split seconds, and it actually slides up an octave. So let me just show y'all instead of talking about it. Okay, so I'm gonna let you hear what it sounds like. Boom, and that means that we are gonna mix that together in our current drum beat, and that about wraps it up for drums. And what we're gonna do here now is, you know, add some seasoning to the beat. We're gonna add some seasoning. All right, so before we start focusing on the seasoning of the beat, I actually want to just go back and show you a couple of things that I did. First and foremost, I went back, I took the chords that I played on an electric piano first. I opened another instance of Contact. I took out the Gentleman, which is part of the Complete 11 suite. And I just compounded those chords, so I stacked them on top of each other, you know, just to get that more richer sounding chord progression feel. So it sounds like this. Beautiful. I also went back and I did some arrangements in the playlist, so I made sure that every track had a name, had a specific color associated with it. So that's basically all there is to it. Let's get back to the seasoning. So seasoning is a very important beat. I call it seasoning, but essentially it's just good as sound selection. Sound selection is way more than just, you know, your drums and your instruments. It's actually also looking for chops and sounds and loops that complement your beat, but may also end up being the things that make the beat so catchy, you know, the things that get stuck in the listener's head. So it's a very important thing to also just look for additional things that can complement your beat. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm just gonna slowly start stacking things on top of each other and try to explain you how they got a place in the mix, in the arrangement. So I started off with these two vocal chops that I got from a kit. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm gonna just drag them into the playlist and, you know, show you what I did with it. So we got that ha ha ha. Yeah. I'm not a singer, so I'm not gonna do too much effort trying to make it sound good. So that sounds decent. Let me play it for you. But you know, me as somebody who really admired that chipmunk soul with the high-pitched vocal sample, you know, I just had to pitch these two motherfuckers up. So that's exactly what I did. And then I lowered the volume a little bit. And this is what I got. Okay, good. But it needs a little bit more seasoning. It needs a little bit more spice. So I found this vocal sample here from another kit, which wasn't exactly in key. So I had to pitch it up to about 300 cents to make sure it sounded good with the rest of the chords. I dragged that into the playlist, and you know, that's pretty much all she wrote. Man, I am falling in love with this beat all over again. You get that feeling sometimes? Like, for real. I wasn't exactly done yet because I found another chop, and that, you know, completes the whole vocal chop thing. That's this one. I don't know, but I feel like that was the catchy thing, that ooh. This is what happens when producers are on their own and they start feeling the beat. They start, you know, ooh, do a little shake, do a little shimmy, you know what I'm saying? Man, for real, man, I love producing. I really fucking love beat making, because it's things like this, when a beat comes together, that is the sweetest joy, for real. All right, so let me play you what I got up until now. Man, I am loving this beat all over again. Okay, so the things I have to add now are like a texture, some melodic texture, make sure that the background, the lower end is filled up nicely, and you know, it gives it a little bit of ambience, which I thought that the beat really needed because it sounded pretty dry. So I took this, I shortened it, you know, to half a bar. You know, it's pretty trancey, but that didn't stop me from using it in a hip hop, trap, R&B setting. So this is what I got. And the final thing I added was I took the chords that I played in the beginning, I recorded them, I reversed them, and I pitched them up to use as some kind of, you know, additional element in what I thought was going to be the chorus. Just like that. And you know, I actually think we're at the end now, because these are all of the elements that comprise the beat. And like I said, basic, trappy, with room for bars, but it has that distinct R&B feel, and that is solely because of the vocal sample and the chord progression. So what I had to do at this point is start mixing it. And mixing can be a little bit a tricky task, especially in a bass heavy genre like hip hop, because most of your time is going to be spent getting that low end right. But don't underestimate how much time it takes to get that high end right too, because you want clarity, but you also want space for everything, but you also want it to bounce. You also want the bass to hit people in the very depths of their soul, right? So that's what I did after that. And that got me that beat, you know, a little bit of funky beat. I called it funky shit. I'm not good with names at all. So that pretty much wraps it up, people. All right, so that's the end of this episode of The Flip Side. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Please, if you liked the video, leave a comment, give me a like, hit me up with a sub, and feel free to follow me on all the other social channels in the video or in the video description. And I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.